fanatical.
Doctor, James, Cooley. It's the James, Cooley Show. It's your life. Let's go. It's the James, Cooley Show. It's your life. Doctor, James, JC, Cooley. All right.
The James Cooley Show, It's Your Life, can be heard every Sunday at 9 p.m. right here on The Answer San Diego. Life is full of circles, cycles, phases, and stages. It's your choice to ignore or embrace them. Motivational speaker, author, military veteran, and founder of the J.C. Cooley Foundation, James Cooley, and his guest will inspire and equip you to strive for your own greatness and overcome adversities. Listen to The James Cooley Show, It's Your Life, every Sunday at 9 p.m. right here on The Answer San Diego.
The James Cooley Show, It's Your Life, can be heard every Sunday at 6 p.m. right here on 660 AM The Answer in Dallas-Fort Worth. Life is full of circles, cycles, phases, and stages. It's your choice to ignore them or embrace them. Motivational speaker, author, military veteran, and founder of the J.C. Cooley Foundation, James Cooley, and his guests will inspire and equip you to strive for your own greatness and overcome adversities. Listen to The James Cooley Show, It's Your Life, every Sunday at 6 p.m. right here on 660 AM The Answer in Dallas-Fort Worth.
Yeah. Doctor, James, JC, Cooley. The James, Cooley Show. It's your life. Yeah.
Hello, welcome to the James Cooley Show, It's Your Life. I'm your host, Dr. James J.C. Cooley, but I'll tell you what, as you already know, we got Dr. Michael Mantell, 306 Degree Health, and he got this absolutely fantastic guest going to be talking about things that's so important to us. But I'll tell you what, hey, Toddy, let's get the whole show started. Let's get all the platforms locked in. Let's do it. Yes. Hello, welcome to the James Cooley Show, It's Your Life. I'm your host, Dr. James J.C. Cooley, and today, 306 Degree Health, our 97th episode. We're getting close to that 100. We're getting close to it real soon, Dr. Mike. How you doing today? How you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you. It's great to be here. I can't believe we're almost at 100 episodes. And today we're going to be talking about such a wonderfully controversial topic in mental health. I can't wait to get into it. We have a sparkling guest who is at the front end of this very controversial topic, and a lot of good sense behind it all. So we're going to learn a lot.
Hey, Doc, how you get all of these absolutely outstanding, superb guests from all over the world.
Simple, very
All over
simple.
the world.
I'll tell you the secret. I tell them all about Michelle. And we all just jump on. That's exactly what happens. Look at that. Look at that face.
How you doing, Dr. Cooley? How you doing?
I'm doing good, James. How are you?
I am excited. I'm excited about this topic. I'm excited about the guests. I'm excited every time I get a chance to spend time with my brother, Dr. Michael Mantell. I mean, I get excited about that. Now, I'll tell you what, before we even get started, whichever platform that you're watching us on, whether it's E360 television, Roku TV, Apple TV, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Rumble, and over 85 other platforms, including the radio. Welcome to the show. If you want to be part of this great discussion that we're about to have, a couple of ways you can do it. All you have to do is just whichever platform that you're watching us on, go to the comments, ask any question that you might have. I promise you we'll get you an answer. Or you can pick up your phone and dial 1-888-344-1170. Again, that's 1-888-344-1170. My main man, Todd, and our Dallas studios and our San Diego studios will put you through. Michelle, can you do the honors by introducing the title of the show, the purpose of the show, and introduce this absolutely wonderful guest that we have?
Oh, most definitely. So it is 360-degree Health Day. And the title of today's show is How to Understand Depression and Where We Have Gone Wrong. So we're having a sit-down discussion, conversation with Joanna Moncrieff. She is a professor of critical and social psychiatry at University College London. She's going to talk about, is depression caused by chemical imbalance? What are antidepressants and why are we taking them? And do they help? And why have we got things so wrong? Again, Joanna Moncrieff is a professor of critical and social psychiatry at University College London and has worked as a consultant psychiatrist in the NHS in London for over 20 years. She writes about the nature of mental health problems, how to treat them and how not to treat them. She has led large UK government-funded research studies. She's also the author of numerous scientific papers and several books about psychiatric drugs, including her most recent, Chemically Imbalanced, The Making and Unmaking of the Serotonin Myth. Professor Moncrieff's website, she's out there, is joannamoncrieff.com, and she's on many social media platforms. So please welcome to the show for the very first time, Professor Joanna Moncrieff.
Professor Moncrieff, how are you doing today? How are you doing?
I'm really well, thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
What time is it in London at this time?
It's 10 o'clock at night, so forgive me if I look a little bit dopey.
I just want to thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show today. And the topic that we're talking about today, as you already know, you teach it, is so important because depression is out there. And I'm talking about in many different forms. So I always start off with the first couple of questions. Can you please tell our viewers and our listeners more about where you grew up, what made you click, what led you into the direction of the profession that you're in right now?
Okay, thanks, JC. So I grew up in England, partly in Derby and then in Oxford. And I suppose the important fact about my upbringing is that my father was a doctor. He was a pediatrician. And so it sort of seemed natural for me to go into medicine. So I signed up to medical school. But really, I was always probably a bit more interested in politics and philosophy and the humanities. So I gravitated towards psychiatry because mental health is the area that raises important philosophical and political questions. So it interested me for that reason. And I suppose I've always had a slightly rebellious streak. And so that's why and so that's behind the fact that I have challenged the conventional thinking about mental health in psychiatry. Sorry, I can't see the hosts anymore, so I'm just
You're the one. You're the one on the screen.
Okay, oh, that's right. I haven't lost you. Okay.
I knew there was a rebellious streak. There had to be. And as you heard me say, I didn't realize you were listening to me when I said it. I'm in awe of you, Professor Moncrieff, and the work that you do. For decades, the public has been told that depression is caused by a chemical imbalance, usually low serotonin. And I remember for years and years and years talking about how that was the issue and the medication was going to do this and that and so forth. The antidepressants correct that imbalance. But you've argued, the rebellious streak in you has argued that this story isn't supported by science. Tell us what people should understand instead about what these medications usually do.
Okay, so maybe I can just start with the history of this idea that depression is caused by a chemical imbalance. So it was first suggested by psychiatrists and researchers back in the 1960s. And they did some research looking at it in the 1970s and 80s that didn't really support the idea. No one could find any chemical imbalance in people. So it looked like that theory was dead in the water. But then the pharmaceutical industry had a new range of drugs that it wanted to sell, the SSRI antidepressants. And these antidepressants, they wanted to use to replace the market for benzodiazepines. The drugs that were really popular in the 70s and 80s were the benzodiazepine tranquilizers. That's drugs like Valium, Librium, lorazepam, alprazolam. So some of them are still widely used. Anyway, the benzodiazepines were very widely used at that time, but by the 1980s, it was becoming clear that they caused physical dependence and that they had been widely prescribed to numb and sedate people. So that whole idea of giving someone a drug that zonks them out a bit or numbs them a bit had got a bad reputation by that time. So when the pharmaceutical industry came along with its new range of drugs this is in the late 1980s and early 1990s, it wanted to present them as doing something different from the benzodiazepines. And so they revitalized this idea that depression was caused by a chemical imbalance and that their drugs help to rectify that imbalance. And so it's the pharmaceutical industry that are really responsible for promoting this idea, establishing it in the wider culture.
So you propose a drug-centered rather than a disease-centered model of psychiatry. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I can't see anything anymore, but I can hear you okay.
Okay, we're here.
Can you see me?
We can see. So you've distinguished between a drug-centered and a disease-centered model of psychiatry, suggesting that the medications alter mental states rather than fix an underlying biological defect. Tell us about that distinction.
Yes. So this idea that drugs like antidepressants work by correcting a chemical imbalance is, as I said, something that the pharmaceutical industry promoted without there ever really being any substantial evidence for it. And that is an example of what I've called the disease-centered model of drug action, the idea that a drug is working by targeting some underlying abnormality that is what is causing the symptoms. But the drugs that are prescribed for mental health problems are a special sort of drug that crosses the blood-brain barrier and changes the normal state of our brain. They change our normal brain chemistry, just in the same way that alcohol or cannabis change the normal state of the brain. And by doing so, they change our thoughts, our feelings, our level of consciousness, in various ways, depending on the nature of the drug. Now, antidepressants have varied effects on our mental states and our brain chemistry because they come from many different
Hey,
chemical
Professor,
classes.
can you hold that thought 1 second? We got to
Sorry.
take a decent break. Hey, Dr. Mike, I want to pick it back up when we get back with that.
Absolutely.
I'll tell you what, whichever platform that you're watching this on, if you want to be part of this great discussion that we're having, all you have to do is just go to the comments on the platform that you're watching us on, or I make it easy for you. Just pick up the phone and dial 1-888-344-1170. Again, that's 1-888-344-1170. It's your life, and we'll see you shortly after the break.
Hey, it's your life with Dr. James J.C. Cooley. That's right. It's Dr. James J.C. Cooley. It's your life show. Dr. James J.C.
I'm Dr. Michelle Cooley. Heart disease research saves lives. It's that simple. Thanks to medical advancements funded by the American Heart Association, more women are surviving heart attacks, strokes, and other cardiovascular diseases than ever before. But there's still so much work to do.
Hi, I'm Dr. James J.C. Cooley, and I'm raising funds to support life-saving research because every heartbeat is worth fighting for. In honor of Women's History Month, please join me in support of the American Heart Association and women's health.
1, 2, 1, 2. It's your life with Dr. James J.C. Cooley. Yeah. All right. Your life with Dr. James J.C. Cooley. Ready for the Dr. James J.C. Cooley show.
Hello. Welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's your life. Welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's your life. And as you already know, it's 360-degree health. And that's Dr. Michael Mantell. And he already hit a home run already in the first at bat. He knocked it out the park with this absolutely fantastic guest. But we got so much that we're going to talk about. And if you want to be part of this great conversation, I already told you, go to the platform that you're watching us on, ask any questions that you might have, or pick up the phone and dial 1-888-344-1170. In case you're just not tuning in, what we're talking about today is how to understand depression and where we have gone wrong. And a lot of times, just like our segment coming up later on, the link is what you think. So that's going to tie into this discussion that we're having. But before we even get started, I want to play this video by Dr. Joanna Moncrieff. Here we go.
Hello, I'm Joanna Moncrieff, and I'm the author of Chemically Imbalanced, The Making and Unmaking of the Serotonin Myth. In Chemically Imbalanced, I reveal how we have been fundamentally misled about the nature of depression and antidepressants. The number of people taking antidepressants has soared over recent decades. People have been led to believe that depression is caused by a chemical abnormality in the brain, particularly a lack of serotonin. However, in 2022, colleagues and I published a paper that showed that in fact a link between serotonin and depression has not been established. There was massive interest in our paper, and it naturally raised questions for people. I wrote the book to answer these. For example, I addressed the question of what antidepressants are actually doing if they are not correcting an underlying chemical imbalance. I describe how they are drugs that change our normal brain chemistry and how this impacts on our mental states and bodily functions, causing effects such as emotional numbing, sexual dysfunction, and withdrawal problems. I describe how the chemical imbalance story was developed and promoted by an unholy alliance of the pharmaceutical industry and parts of the psychiatric profession. I explain how we can think about depression differently and how this can empower people to find their own routes to recovery. I don't want people to stop taking antidepressants, but I do want people to be properly informed about whether to take them or not. I also want to demonstrate that some areas of science are not as settled as we might think and need to be debated.
That's fascinating.
That's terrific.
That is, and that's what I want to go with in this segment, Doc, about the drugs, antidepressant, the drugs that a lot of people take. They don't really know why. Just the doctors just like giving them out like candy. And, yeah, can we go off into that, Dr. Mike?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I was going to talk a little bit about that because in our last segment, Professor Moncrieff, you were talking about what psychiatric drugs really do. So I'm interested in your view, how do psychiatric drugs actually work in the brain? Are they fundamentally different from the way other drugs work in the body?
So psychiatric drugs are drugs that change our brain chemistry and therefore change our, the way that we feel, the way that we think, and sometimes the way that we behave, in the same way that alcohol or cannabis would change that. We don't know exactly how different drugs affect brain chemistry. We know that that the antidepressants that are called SSRIs have some effects on serotonin, but we don't really know what serotonin does, to be honest, apart from that it has some role in our sexual functioning and probably a role in lots and lots of other things, but we're not quite certain. So we don't know exactly what the drugs are doing to the brain, but they certainly do affect our mental life, our mental activity. One common effect that many antidepressants have is that they numb people's emotions to varying degrees. And of course, if you're feeling very distressed or very anxious, and you take a drug that makes you a bit numb, that may feel like a relief in the short term. The trouble is they also numb people to positive emotions, to feelings of joy or excitement or pleasure. And that, of course, isn't going to be very helpful if you're trying to pull yourself out of a depressive episode or get yourself back on track in your life.
It's so interesting because when you are talking to a patient or a client and you say this medication is going to rebalance serotonin in your brain, the average person says, wow, great. This is going to help balance my they don't even know what serotonin is. forget that we don't really necessarily understand it, but to the average patient, it makes sense. And to the average pharmaceutical company, it makes dollars.
Yep.
So, of course, this is the issue. Now, I want to make sure our audience hears this. Many clinicians are worried that your work can discourage people from taking medication that they believe is life-saving. How do you respond to that? Because you make it very clear. You're not saying don't take medication. How do you respond to that?
So absolutely. What I want people to be informed about what the medication actually does. And I think it's, as you're saying, if people are told that they have a chemical imbalance and this drug will put that imbalance right, then of course it makes sense to take it. If you're told that in fact, we don't know what's going on in the brain, if anything, when you're feeling depressed or anxious or whatever, the drugs that we have will change your normal brain chemistry and may make you feel a bit numb or a bit different, and we're not really sure what the long-term consequences are. I think you might make different decisions about whether to take medication or not. Now, so the important thing is that people are informed and not misled into believing that there is an established biological cause of depression that the drugs will reverse, when that is actually not the case. Psychiatrists will challenge me and say, well, antidepressants work and it doesn't matter how they work. And it's very important for people to understand what they mean when they say this. When they say antidepressants work, what they mean is they are a little bit better than taking a placebo in randomized controlled trials. The difference is so small, it's probably not clinically noticeable, and it's also very likely to be caused by the fact that these trials are not reliably double-blind. People can often guess whether they're getting the real drug or the placebo because they get some side effects or they feel a bit different. So the effects of antidepressants are actually pretty minimal. The benefits are pretty minimal, and it has never been shown that they reduce the suicide rate. In fact, there is a small increase in suicidal behavior in younger people in particular who take antidepressants for reasons that we don't understand, but it seems to be linked to the fact that the drugs make some people feel, especially younger people, feel quite agitated.
And there's a warning that says that on many of the boxes. People just ignore that. So yeah. How does this relate to informed consent? The doctor says this is going to help you. What about ethical informed consent? Where does that come into this?
So I think that most people being given antidepressants are not able to make proper informed consent, because they are either told that they have a chemical imbalance, which is misinformation, or they are led to believe that it's sort of implied. People are very rarely told that antidepressants are disturbing your normal brain chemistry. They're very rarely told that they have these effects like emotional numbing and sexual dysfunction, which is linked to the emotional numbing. They're not always told that antidepressants can make people physically dependent and lead to severe withdrawal symptoms when they try and stop them. And then there's also the long-term effect that some people have persistent sexual side effects even when they stop taking the antidepressant. Right. So all these things are really important for people to know. And I think that it's likely that people are not regularly or reliably informed about them.
Yeah, exactly right. That's the concern. And that's where your courage comes in. We just have a minute left. But next, when we come back, I want to talk about how if medications are tools that change experience but don't cure disease, what about psychotherapy, social connection, meaning, agency? How does that fit into your vision of mental health care? We'll talk about that. JC, what do you think?
Well, we're going to take a station break, but this is so fascinating. And we're going to get off into a whole lot of things. And Dr. Moncrieff, this is something that really needs to be talked about. I tell you, viewers not listening, you want to be part of this conversation, you already know. Comments on the platform that you watching us on, or pick up the phone and dial 1-888-344-1170. It's your life, and we'll see you shortly after the break.
Dr. James, JC, Cooley, the James Cooley Show. It's your life.
The future is here.
Now is the time to pursue the greatness in you. Welcome to Viridian Christian University, where faith meets future. We are a fully accredited, 100% online Christian university. We offer bachelor's degree, master's and doctorate degree programs, built for students like you. Affordable tuitions, 30+ degree programs, 100% online and flexible. Integrating faith with learning. Study from anywhere at your pace. At VCU, we do not just prepare you for a degree. We prepare you for purpose. Discover who you are, grow in faith, and build a future that impacts the world.
Are you ready to start your journey today?
Visit www.viridianchristianuniversity.com.
Apply today and be among the global leaders.
Are y'all ready? It's about that time for the It's Your Life Show. Dr. James, JC, Cooley. That's right. It's your life. Cooley. That's right. It's Dr. James. Your life with Dr.
Hello. Welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's your life, and I tell you, this conversation, I am thoroughly enjoying this education that these two great doctors are putting out, because we all need to have an understanding of what we're putting in our body, why, so we won't overdo it sometimes. All type of stuff, just because we sometimes fall into this thing called depression, and it affects all of us. I don't care who you are. It's somewhere, sometime in your life, you're going to experience depression, and understanding how to cope with that, not just through the form of pills and medicine. So many other ways out there that we cope with depression. But what Dr. Moncrieff and Dr. Mantell is talking about is so important, and I say everybody continue to lock in. Right now, before we even start with this, as you already know, every week we do what we call the link is what you think. The link is what you think. This Dr. Michael Mantell and I have been doing that almost 2.5, 3 years now. So, hey, Dr. Mike, what do you have for us today?
Here's the book right here. The link is what you think. And I wrote this right after I wrote the original Don't Sweat the Small Stuff in 1988. And my goal is to help people live better and disturb themselves less. And each week I just open to a random page. Today I open to page 74. And I'll just read the 5 points. Number one, the title of this is called, What Kind of a Person Are You? What kind of a person are you? 1, are you a hope and expectancy, or a defeat and it'll never happen person? Number 2, are you a nevertheless and regardless person, or a I'm stuck and stop here person? Are you a I get to or I have to person? Number 4, are you this is a setup or this is a setback person? Are you this happens to me person, or are you this happens for me person? The link is what you think. If you find one nugget in any of this that I've just said, then my mission has been accomplished. Until the next time I share from my book, I want you to stay curious, I want you to stay kind, and don't sweat the small stuff.
Wow, that goes directly into what we're talking about, because it could tie into depression. It could tie into a lot of different things. So, Dr. Michael Mantell, thank you so much for sharing. I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Okay, yeah, I was going to ask about this. So we've established that by and large, medication may help some people feel a little number, maybe feel that they think they're feeling better, but it doesn't cure disease. If medication changes an experience but doesn't cure disease, then I was asking you, what do you think about psychotherapy, social connection, meaning, changing the way we think? Where does that enter into your vision of mental health treatment?
Yeah, so I think we need to understand common mental health problems like depression and anxiety as emotional reactions to the things that are happening in our lives. If you like, you can think of them as signals. They're signals that something is wrong, something's upsetting you, something's disturbing you, like you were mentioning in your snippet. And of course, we all, as JC was saying earlier, we all have experiences like this. Some people will have worse experiences than others, though, because we're all different. And especially if you've had a difficult time in life, or you're, in difficult circumstances, you'll be more likely to suffer from anxiety or depression. And when we look at the problems like that, I think we can understand that numbing you out with a drug is not going to be a long-term solution. And indeed, actually, it might make finding a long-term solution more difficult, because if you're numbed, you're not necessarily going to be tuned in to what it is that you need to change in order to feel better. Mm-hmm. And things like psychotherapy that you mentioned, and other forms of therapy, are trying to help people to identify what's gone wrong and how they can change things. And that's really what, that's fundamentally what people need to do to get out of situations where they're stuck feeling, ruminating on negative things or feeling intensely anxious.
When I was in graduate school in the 1970s, that's a long time ago, the Diagnostic Statistical Manual was just beginning to unfold. It was like that thin, if it even existed then. When it first came out, it was like that thin. Now it's this thin, this thick. The Diagnostic Statistical Manual is the encyclopedia that we use in understanding psychological issues. You've argued that the DSM, Diagnostic Statistical Manual, we call it the DSM, diagnoses are often mistaken for biological diseases. Where did this assumption come from? And why has it been so persistent?
Well, the DSM was designed to convey the impression that mental health is the same as physical health, that a mental health problem is the same as having pneumonia or liver cancer or whatever it is. And it's not the same. So it was always going to be a difficult task to mold those different things together. And the DSM tried to do it by just citing lists of symptoms, lists of criteria that would enable you to get a particular diagnosis, and thereby to convey the impression that having a mental health diagnosis is a simple and objective fact, like having like having pneumonia or something like that. Whereas actually, mental health problems, I think, are better understood as personal, emotional reactions to circumstances. They're always going to be, it's always going to be subjective to some extent, because people react to different circumstances in different ways, and the way that we judge and evaluate how people react is, it differs between us as well.
So do you think that diagnostic labels risk turning understandable human suffering into medical problems, or is that concern overstated?
Yeah, I think that's exactly what they do, and I think people often don't understand or think that mental health diagnostic labels like clinical depression or major depression or anxiety disorder, they think that these are established diseases that have biological causes because they are referred to in with medical sounding language, whereas actually no mental disorder has been shown to have a biological cause that we can identify.
That's a very big statement you just said. That's a very big statement. Would you say that again?
No mental disorder, and that includes depression and anxiety, but also manic depression or bipolar disorder and schizophrenia, have been shown to have an established biological causal mechanism, despite decades of research looking for possible biological causes. So that there are various hypotheses about biological causes, and the serotonin hypothesis of depression was one of the major hypotheses, and we showed in our research that was not supported by evidence. There's a hypothesis that schizophrenia is caused by an abnormality of dopamine. There is some supportive evidence, but there's contradictory evidence, and that's pretty inconsistent too.
So how do insurance systems, pharmaceutical research, regulatory frameworks reinforce the authority of the DSM diagnosis, even if their scientific foundations are uncertain?
So the thing is that these diagnoses develop their own lives. They sort of gain respectability from being used, just from the fact that they are used. Because you need a diagnosis to get help or to get access to services. It seems as if they are an actual thing that is, similar to medical diagnoses and medical problems, whereas actually what they are labels for certain sorts or patterns of human difficulties. Depression is one pattern of behavioral difficulty, and anxiety is a slightly different pattern.
We have a new program called the PRISM diagnostic approach, which has been written about lately in Psychiatric Times and whatnot. I think there are people who are trying to look for other ways of helping. If the DSM were set aside tomorrow, what other ways might clinicians understand and respond to emotional distress? And I believe we have less than a minute left. I don't see JC popping in yet. There it is. Let's come back to that and answer that question, okay?
Wow, a little bit late coming in on the commercial, but I tell you what, such a terrific conversation.
At Viridian Christian University, we believe education is more than just a degree. It's a pathway to a purpose-driven life. Whether you're advancing your career, pursuing a passion, or building a new future, VCU's 100% online programs give you the flexibility to learn on your terms, anywhere, anytime. With expert faculty, personalized mentorship, and a faith-centered approach, you'll gain the skills, knowledge, and leadership you need to make a lasting impact. VCU offers bachelor's, master's, and doctorate degrees, each designed to empower you for success in today's fast-changing world. Join a global community of believers, learners, and leaders. Ready to start your journey? Viridian Christian University, transforming lives, empowering futures. Visit us at viridianchristianuniversity.com.
Country boy.
Oh! Dr. James JC Cooley. That's right. It's Dr. James JC Cooley. It's your life show. Yeah. Dr. James JC Cooley.
Our cup.
Have a ride at a prison house, and I tell you what, it's beautiful out here. The water is so clear. The beach. I am excited. I will keep you informed. This one, Zanzibar.
Yeah,
Get over here, Randy.
I see why people say you haven't traveled until you've been to Zanzibar. I get it, man. I totally understand it. We about to have some fun.
1, 2. It's your life with Dr. James JC Cooley. Yeah. All right. Your life with Dr. James JC Cooley. JC Cooley. That's right. It's your life.
Hello. Welcome back to James Cooley Stories to Life. And if you're just not tuning in, you already know. 360 degree health. Dr. Michael Mantell has just hit. You know what? He brought in the heavy hitter today. We're talking about Dr. Joanna Moncrieff. And her first time up to the plate, I tell you, the bases were loaded. Came down to one, bam! Knocked it out the park. She not a doc. You know I had to invite her back if her schedule allow her to come back on. We have to have her back on, doc.
This discussion needs to go on and on. I have so many questions, you won't believe it here. But
before we start, I got to say this. As you probably already saw a couple of the videos and all that about Africa, I am heading back to Africa, Michelle and I, on the 8th of February, where I will be in Stool as the development king and the ambassador of Central Africa and Agona Akra kingdom in West Africa. And Michelle will be crowned development queen mother. That means she will oversee the other queens in the whole kingdom. And we're excited about that. And for the people that want to watch this, it will be televised. It will be televised on my YouTube channel. I will send the link out and I will send the invitation out. Doc, both of you docs will get an invitation, even though you might not be able to show up, but you get an invitation for this because this only happened like every 100 years.
Amazing.
So we're excited about that.
And congratulations, Michelle, as well.
Also, Ben, the judge, I've been trying to get I've been trying to get that young guy on the show for the longest, Doc. I mean, since he watching it right now, you think we might be able to get him on?
We'll try. We'll try our best. He's not gonna say I'm on.
Hey, I'm gonna turn it back over to you, Doc.
All righty. So we have about 6 minutes left in this segment. I have so much more to ask. It's not even funny, but just quickly, if the DSM, the diagnostic manual, were set aside tomorrow, what are you suggesting might replace it?
Well, I think we need to take a different approach. So I think instead of thinking that we're trying to treat diseases, we need to see ourselves as trying to help people with their individual problems. And if we're people with those problems, that we're people that need to try and overcome our individual problems. And of course, that's going to depend on the individual, what is going to be helpful. So some people will, might need some relationship counseling or employment support, depending on what it is that they're struggling with. Psychotherapy can be helpful to help people to identify what it is that's upsetting them.
So I wonder if what you're saying, if we go out a bit, that this is going to be bold. Maybe the American psychological, the American psychiatric, the social work associations might really need to come together and understand we're all talking about the same thing here. We want to minimize suffering, and we don't want to, I should say we want to minimize suffering. We don't want to invalidate the experience that people are having. But if there's one myth about psychiatric disorders, diagnosis, that you could gently but firmly retire, what would it be? And what do you think would replace it? Is there some merging of the mental health professions to begin to see people not as patients, as diagnostic issues? What are your thoughts?
I think we need to get away from, retire this idea that the problem is in people's heads, and recognize that actually what most people need is more comfortable lives and more stress-free lives. So the problems are out there in the world, and we need to band together and support people so that they can manage the difficulties and the stresses that they're dealing with.
Are you going to be the president of this new organization? I'm voting for you.
Thank you.
One quick question I wanted to ask in the last one I forgot. One of the things we hear more and more about is ketamine. Ketamine clinics are opening. I have clients of mine who go in and they get the ketamine in, they're flying high, and they call me in the middle of the sessions. And is ketamine something that we can rely on as a treatment for depression?
So ketamine obviously is it's a tranquilizer, it's an anesthetic, it's a drug that is used quite widely by recreational drug users nowadays. It puts people into an altered mental state. As far as I understand, it's sort of quite a weird mental state with what we call dissociation. People are sort of dissociated, disengaged from their environment. They feel very different. Some people like the effect. Some people don't like the effect so much. But the research on ketamine seems to suggest that the effect that it has is because of this altered mental state that it causes, and because of the expectations or the placebo effect that those effects magnify and highlight. So what concerns me is that, if someone's feeling really down in the dumps and really terrible, going and having a hit of ketamine might well abolish those horrible feelings for a few hours, just as going out and getting blind drunk would probably do the same job. It doesn't seem to me that that's actually a helpful way of dealing with depression or anxiety or any other mental health problem in the long run. And we know, because we know from recreational use of ketamine that there are lots of complications, there are bladder issues, and it can make people quite depressed if they take it long term, and it can cause heart problems. So there are all sorts of negative health consequences from using it repeatedly. And what worries me is that that's what's happening, because although when it came in, people said, oh, look, it's a quick, immediate, treatment for depression. Actually, because it's not, because it doesn't solve any problems, people keep going back for more, people end up on it long term, and therefore people are going to end up with all these potentially harmful effects.
Yeah. So let's look forward, the remaining time we have. What changes would you most like to see in psychiatric training, research priorities, public messaging about mental health? We have 1 minute left.
So questioning this idea that mental health problems are in the brain, and encouraging clinicians and patients and people with problems to look at their lives and see how adjusting their lives might help them to feel better.
Dr. Moncrieff, Professor Moncrieff, you are certainly a superstar. And thank goodness you have this rebellious streak, because your voice needs to be heard. And I know we're going to hear more from you.
She is a superstar. Dr. Moncrieff, if Dr. Mike, if you can try to twist her arm, we get her back on in a couple of months, if her schedule permits.
Thank you so much. Thank you all of you for giving me the opportunity for the conversation. I've really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
I like to thank always the link is what you think, Dr. Michael Mantell, my partner in crime, as we relate to 360 Degree Health. Love you so much, Dr. Mike. I'd like to thank Dr. Cooley, Michelle Cooley, for putting together another absolutely fantastic show. I'd like to thank my producers in my Dallas studios and San Diego studios, Todd Pirate. Most importantly, I'd like to thank our viewers and our listeners for tuning into the James Cooley Show. This show like Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 4 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, iHeartRadio, and all other platforms. My viewers and listeners always dream big, think big, and be big at everything you do. We love you. We'll be out tomorrow. Same time, same place. It's your life, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Doctor.